Shanah Tovah, everyone. Shanah
Shanah
Tovah.
Tovah.
It's wonderful to be here together in person. I think that's been the start of every service, has been somebody saying it's so amazing to be together in this way. And I think we feel particularly this way for the mindfulness service, which has not met at all in person for 3 years. The last 2 years were all recorded and live streamed, and so it really is a blessing to be back together, and we're so glad to be in this space. And I want to kind of ground our service this morning in an idea from Rabbi Alan Liu's book, Be Still and Get Going, where he talks about the work of leave-taking. That every journey in the Torah, and if we really think about every journey in our own lives, starts with taking leave. Something happens that pushes us out of our physical space, our emotional space, our comfort zone, and we're asked to take leave in order to then be still and then get going, is how he describes it. And I think that for me, and I think for so many people, the pandemic was kind of the ultimate leave-taking, right? We had to take leave of everything that we knew about how to live and how to work and how to be and how to relate to our families and loved ones and ourselves. And many of us felt that jolt of the leave-taking during the pandemic. And many of us thought about, is this really the job I want? Is this where I want to live? How many people started spending more time in a different place or moved or left their jobs? This was an ultimate wake-up, an ultimate leave-taking. And there were many articles written about how people were reevaluating what was important in their lives and using this moment to clarify and to make change. And the question I want to ask myself, really, and all of us, is, have we stayed in that space of leave-taking, of awakenness? Or now, as we're starting to be able to be back in person and sit together and go to work and go to restaurants or all of the things that fill our time and our days, have we fallen back into our habits? Have we fallen back into our habits? I'll say for myself, yes, in a lot of ways. And the work of mindfulness is the work of leave-taking, of interrupting our habitual ways of being and thinking and acting on autopilot and saying, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to leave that way of being and arrive here so that I can assess, is this really how I want to be living? Or do I want to be living with so much greater intention and presence? And that's what the high holidays are all about. That's what the Yamim Noraim asks us to do every year, is to take leave, to stop, to interrupt our daily lives, spend a month in deep contemplation and thought leading up to Rosh Hashanah and then Yom Kippur, and really try to get clear on who we want to be, how we want to be, and not just sit in the autopilot of our habits. So we're asked to do this in our tradition. We're asked to do this in the practice of meditation. And I want to invite all of us to take leave so that we can arrive. Take leave so that we can arrive right here. So as you sit here, if you like, you can close your eyes, but as you sit here in this space and feel the seat underneath you, the floor underneath your feet, how can you interrupt the habits, the habitual patterns of thinking and doing, and be simply present, aware of the crown of the head, the muscles around the eyes, the jaw, the cheekbones, the sensation of your tongue in your mouth. Being present and aware, awakening to the experience of the body, your shoulders, arms, fingers. Noticing your chest, maybe you're feeling your heart breathing, the subtle movement as you inhale and exhale. Aware of your belly, your hips. Again, if you're sitting, the sensation of the chair underneath you, supporting you. Bringing the attention to your knees, the backs of the knees, lower legs, ankles, feet, and toes. Walking through the world with this degree of presence and attention is not a habit for most of us. So we take leave of those habits and come into the moment, awakening to the moment. And when the thoughts come in, because that is the way our minds work, that is the habitual activity of the mind, is to think. We simply acknowledge those thoughts with compassion and then return our attention to the breath or to the feeling of the seat underneath us. We're going to open our tefillah this morning with the beautiful words, Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. And I love page 1 in the Mindfulness Machzor. And I love to think of these words as spiritual windshield wipers. We're wiping away the schmutz, the spiritual schmutz that covers our soul. We start off as babies, as children, not even conscious, but connected to the purity, that purity of our humanity, of our soul. And then lots of stuff, lots of gunk comes and piles onto that, and we're not clear. So we say these words every morning traditionally, and especially today, as we're entering into the work, we're continuing the work of tshuva, of clarifying. We start with that awareness of our innate goodness and purity. Whatever spiritual schmutz has gunked up your window to your soul this year, let's clear it away.
Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehora tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorai. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi.
Sit for a few seconds with the reverberations of that chant in your body, in your heart. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch Hu. We start the Psukei de Zimra portion of our tefillah with these words that invoke the power of words. A reminder that in our tradition, the world was created with words. A reminder that we can create or perhaps destroy worlds with words. When we think about mindful speech, how do we become more present, more attentive to what we say? Again, not allowing the habits, the habitual responses when we're triggered or upset or even pleased. How do we bring a little more intention to the words that come out of our mouths and the worlds that they can possibly create? And one way of doing this is simply to practice paying attention to what it feels like to say words in the mouth, in the muscles. What does it feel like when we say words? What are the vibrations of our vocal cords? So join me in saying these words, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. If you like, you can close your eyes so that you can focus more attention on the sensations, the movement of the mouth, the muscles. The feeling in the body, the very small muscular movements that we don't usually pay attention to because speech is so automatic for us once we learn a language. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Does it feel like in the body to say these words, to put out with our own being this praise of the divine being and God's creation?
Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. 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 Baruch Hu. Shemo, Baruch Shema,
Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Shema,
Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo, Baruch
Baruch
Shemo, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Gozer
Shemo,
Mekai,
Baruch Shemo, Baruch
Baruch Merachem
Shemo,
Al
Baruch Shemo, Baruch
Baruch Merachem
Shemo,
Al
Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov
Baruch Shemo,
Baruch Chai La'ad V'Kayam Lanetzach Baruch Podeh U'Matzil Baruch Shemo 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 Baruch Shemo.
Many of the Psalms are written in the first person singular, but some, including the one that we're going to sing together in a moment, Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, is in the plural. Joyful, joyous, happy are the ones, the collective ones who sit in your house, in the divine house. In the last verse, Va'anachnu nevarech Yah, we together will bless you, God. There is something that is so special, precious about being in the company of others on our own spiritual journeys. So I invite you now to take a look around this room. And if it feels comfortable, or maybe if it feels a little uncomfortable, you can make eye contact with someone you know, someone you don't know. And just see who is the we, who is the anachnu, those of us who've chosen to be in this space together. Together, we sing, we can feel joy, a kind of joy that we can't necessarily feel on our own.
אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יהללוך הסלע אשרי העם שככה לו אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו אשרי יושבי תהילת אדוני ידבר פי ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד אנחנו נברך מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה, 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 הללויה,
We take that collective breath, that collective energy, and we've made it all the way to page 3 for hallelujah.
We're right on pace. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Shama Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol Hanshama Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol Hanshama Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 כל הנשמה תהלל יה, הללו, הללויה. 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 כל הנשמה תהלל יה, הנשמה תהלל יה, הללו, הללויה.
Inviting all who are here and wherever you are, just to notice the energy flowing right now in you. Generated by breath, by song, by words. Kol haneshama tahalel ya. Let everything that has breath, use that breath to praise with awareness of its source. Shuli invited us so beautifully to wake up again and again, especially on this Rosh Hashanah, to wake up, to live lives of greater intention and awareness so that we might realize our better selves. And it begins by just being aware of the gift that we're given every moment, this gift of breath. So I want to invite you to receive a few deep breaths really deeply into your belly right now. Coming out of this time where it's still inspires anxiety to receive a breath, to let ourselves breathe freely as we can. And to notice what a blessing that is. From the moment we're born, I invite you to stay with awareness of receiving each breath and returning each breath at its own natural pace, not gulping air, not grabbing it, not taking it, just receiving the gift and letting it return to its source and trusting it will be back again. As I read these words by Joanne Feltman. The barrier breaks and the mother urges her child from the womb. The infant unknowingly hungers to be filled by a newfound life, and the air courses through the universe, finding its way into empty spaces. Our breathing begins. There's nothing to think about. Air in, air out. Breath is everywhere and nowhere it's ever been before. Even in sleep, the breath slinks past lips, cooling tongues, as molecules of air slide down passages. Empty spaces swell, and air is expelled in waves so that the cycle can begin again. Breathe in, breathe out, an internal portable mantra. So I invite you to breathe in this moment and breathe out yesterday. Breathe in a smile and breathe out tomorrow. Breathe in the smell of your grandparents' house. Breathe out your most recent fight with your sibling. Breathe in the memory of the last time you watched the moon rise. And breathe out worry about the work on your desk or in your inbox. Breathe in joy. Breathe out sadness. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe out resentment. Breathe in acceptance. Breathe out denial. Breathe in love. And breathe out hate. Breathe in forgiveness. Breathe out blame. Breathe in generosity. And breathe out judgment. Breathe in faith. And breathe out fear. Just keep breathing. Just keep listening. All the answers we require are in the breath. And God speaks to us in the breath if we listen until the end of our days, when the air no longer seeks us out, when the universe is ready to move on to new empty spaces. God is waiting for us with each breath, always ready to hear when we are ready to listen. Top of page 4, we choose freely to use that breath to acknowledge and to praise, to express gratitude to its source. These are Yamim Noraim, days of awe. And Rabbi Heschel described our sense of awe most beautifully as preserving a sense of radical amazement at life, the kind of amazement that we feel as children that over the course of the years gets worn away through cynicism and irony and knowing too much. Sometimes we get to visit places that reawaken that sense of awe. I was blessed this summer to be in the American Southwest, which does it for me. Big skies, incredible vistas and valleys and stones. What caught my eye this year was noticing the colored layers of rock that were exposed in the West, and realizing in a way that I had never had before that each of those layers represented millions of years. Layers upon layers upon layers of millions of years, which, as our park ranger explained, if you took the history of the world from here to here, would represent the edge of one fingernail, which if you shaved it off, it'd be gone. That's awesome. But we don't have to travel to such places to reawaken that sense of awe. We have a tradition that reminds us that it's possible to have that sense in every moment. And if the days of awe are for nothing else, therefore waking up to that, recommitting ourselves to living with that sense of amazement. Danny Matt, who translated the Zohar into Hebrew, writes, "Divinity pervades the universe, sparks in every single thing, energy latent in every subatomic particle. We can raise the sparks, restoring the world to God. We become aware that whatever we do or see or touch or imagine is part of the oneness, is part of this pattern of energy that we can experience right now. God's not some separate being up there." So the student did as he was instructed, and he took up residence at the inn for a couple of weeks. And during all of this time, he failed to notice anything special about this Rebbe. He seemed only to attend to his business. And finally, in desperation, he went up to the innkeeper and said, what exactly do you do all day that's so holy?" "Well," said Rabbi Abraham, "my most important job is to make sure the dishes are cleaned properly. I do my best to make sure that there's no trace of food on them. I also clean and dry the pots and pans carefully so they don't rust." "That's it?" said the student. "That's it," said the innkeeper. So the student went back and reported what he'd learned to Rabbi Shmelka. Back to Danny Matt. "God is not somewhere else hidden from us, but right here hidden from us. Enslaved by our routines, we rush from one chore to the next, from event to event, rarely allowing ourselves to pause and open. Our sense of wonder has shriveled, victimized by our pace of life. So how can we find God? How do we find presence? Hamelech? How do we find Malchut? Sacred presence?" Danny says the clue is provided by one of the names for the Shekhinah, the divine presence, who is called ocean, or well, or garden, or apple, or orchard. But, she notes, the Shekhinah is also called Zot, which means simply this. God is this. God is right here, in this moment, fresh and unexpected, always taking you by surprise. God is this. So as we chant Hamelech, I invite you to notice this. this body, this breath, this sensation, this person you see, this neighbor sitting next to you, this room, this building, this city, this country, this ocean, this planet, this asteroid, this universe that we're riding through right now. All around us, and amazingly, within us. We're made of this stuff, the stardust. It's all happening in this.
המלך יושב על כיסא רם
Rise in body, we're in spirit. Called together to create a minyan for Baruch Hu. Like a conductor tapping a baton. Come together as one. My friend David Friedman wrote this beautiful kavanah for Baruch Hu about spiritual vibrancy, where we recognize the vibrations emanating from each of us, resonating between us. The musician draws the bow across the string, and the vibration of the string passes through the bridge of the instrument and into its sound post. The sound post, pressed hard against the inside chamber of the body, causes the body to resonate, and the other strings, which the bow did not touch, they begin to vibrate too. This phenomenon is called sympathetic vibration, and spiritual vibrancy can be found in the resonance of all that lives, because the bow is always moving across the strings. Even in stillness, there's movement, and where there's movement, there's vibration and resonance from one body to the rest. When we listen for it, we can sense the vibrations in ourselves and sympathetically vibrate to the resonance of each other. And on and on. So we listen for this resonance and begin to experience a heightened sense of awareness. We listen to this resonance between us and among us, and we are spiritually vibrant.
אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל ידידיי דיי דיי איי 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 דיי איי 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 דיי דיי איי דיי איי איי דיי איי
Praise the one who creates light and darkness both, harmonizes sun and shadow, and creates everything in this world. This first blessing before the Shema invites us to witness and wonder how we in the world are renewed, not just day by day, but moment by moment, reborn again. The light of the day reveals to us the world of nature and reminds us that we live in a garden. Every day we live in a garden, our urban garden, suffused with love. Rabbi Art Green writes that God shines light upon the earth, and the trees in the forest stretch upward to receive that sunlight, converting its rays into chlorophyll that they need to exist. The sun is a metaphor for the divine light, toward which all nature, including us, stretches. We stretch forth to receive the same light, to convert it into our chlorophyll, which we call love. That is our stuff of life, the inner flow, which allows us to be as fully human as the tree is fully tree. We verbalize that love. We share it. We turn it into teachings, into Torah, that help us to live and to pass on, to become ever more human, ever more divine image. We are, says Rabbi Green, little engines of humanization humming away, translating the divine stream of energy into our beloved and life-giving force of love. So here in this room, and wherever you are, I invite you to be still for just a few minutes and turn your awareness inward. Close your eyes if you like, or soften your gaze. You don't have to be blessed with the capacity of vision to experience the light suffusing this world. I want to invite you to inwardly visualize that light, the sun shining, sustaining us, renewing us, sending its energy this way, as if we were a plant or a tree receiving it, taking it in, feeling its warmth on our face, on our hands. See if we can notice the external light absorbed within us as an inner light, filling our whole bodies, from the toes up through the body, down through the arms into the fingertips, up to the crown of our head. Bodies of light. Receiving the light as the late summer leaves do, and notice how that divine stream of energy transforms within us into love waiting to be released into this world. Storing it up. And notice that when we experience ourselves as full of light, it's much more difficult to judge, to blame. And so Ahava Rabbah, the great infinite love that fills us now with this light, invites us to practice yichud, unification, and to bring together all the scattered, fractured parts of ourselves, to notice the brokenness in ourselves and in our world and within our people and our country and this planet, this world. And to unite and heal and repair that brokenness through love. If you're wearing a talit, you can bring together the tzitzit from the four corners. If you're not wearing a talit, in your mind's eye, you can gather all those broken, fractured aspects of yourself or this world into one. And so we pray as we do, as we bring all the exiled parts home, as we remember our intentions from last Rosh Hashanah, from which we've wandered, in which we are rededicating ourselves, recommitting ourselves back to the intention, returning again and again. We pray, V'haviinu l'shalom, me'arba kanfot ha'aretz. Bring us together in wholeness. Help us find wholeness from the four corners of the earth. V'tolichenu k'mimiut li'artzenu. Help us, God, see past distinctions and remember that we are part of a common tapestry of your making. Lead us in dignity to a shared sense of sacred purpose. Kiel pol Yeshuot ata, v'keravtanu l'shimcha hagadol selah be'emet, lahodod lecha, li'achedcha bi'ahava. Help us find a path to oneness as we gather these knotted fringes into one. Gather us through truth. Connect us with your name, that we might remember to praise and to unify this broken world, this broken self, always through the power of ahava, of love. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. We receive light. We experience that light within and we become sources of light in this world. In challenging and fearful times, it's helpful to remember what is true and what has always been true, is that innumerable generations before us have lived in and survived other such periods and have found the resilience and determination and hope and courage to persevere, to survive, and to thrive. Implanted in every generation, including our own, is a sacred yearning and capacity to move through every challenge we face as individuals or together towards a better future for ourselves and for those who will follow. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav famously taught, Kol halam kulo gesher tsar ma'od. The world is a narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The main thing is not to be afraid, but in truth, his teaching is not exactly that. Teaching was not that we should not be afraid. Shelo yitpached klal. That we shouldn't frighten ourselves. It's okay to feel fear. It is necessary to feel fear. Our anxiety can serve us if we don't fan it into panic and excessive fear. Courage involves moving forward despite our fears and not exacerbating them. So let's notice the narrow bridge we're on right now. We are always on the narrow bridge. We are always standing at the sea, caught between the water and Pharaoh's oncoming army. The waters seem uncrossable. We are always in a tight spot. Challenges, anxieties, fears. These can cause us to constrict, to become distorted, to fight, to flee. So I want to invite you to sit with whatever your fears are right now, whether they're fears about your health or the health of loved ones, fears for the future of this country, fears for the future of democracy, of this planet. Invite them to just be with you right now, to the extent that you can without feeling overwhelmed, and if you can't, see if you can regulate them. Just allow just enough fear to be present. And scan your body for any place where you might notice that fear registering in your body. Constriction or worry in your face, in your forehead, in your jaw, your shoulders or your neck, your lower back maybe. And breathe into those spaces. And again, I want to invite you to take your non-dominant hand and squeeze it as tightly as you can. Let that balled up, clenched hand represent your fears, your pain, your anger, your worries for the future. Surely they are here now. Put all of them into your non-dominant hand and squeeze tight. And then gently hold that clenched hand with your other hand, your dominant hand. Let that hand firmly but gently hold your fears and worries and anger with understanding and with compassion and with love. And let that hand whisper to the clenched hand, of course you're afraid. Of course you're angry. Of course you are scared. You're not alone. You are held. You are supported. You are loved. I am with you in your fear. And as you hold your fears with love, can you notice the power of that fear dissipating even just a little? Can you notice the clenched hand unfolding and opening? Do you notice how honoring your fear can help you soften and loosen the clenched fist? And gently and slowly, as you like, open both your hands. Without effort, just let them naturally unfold. And if you're comfortable, letting them rest in a receptive position on top of your thighs. Just receiving the ometz lev, the courage that you need right now to step into the waters, into a new year towards a promised land. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed are you, source of life, who redeems Israel and all people.
Please rise as you are able as we turn to page 5. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi tehilatecha Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, בספר החיים, למענך, למענך, אלוהים חיים, מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב, להושיע מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, מתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני
גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, מי כמוך אב הרחמים זוכר, יצור רב לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
Top of page 7. Le'el orech din levochen levavot b'yom din. This day of din, of searching deeply into the truth. We remember that one of the names of God is Bochen levavot, one who searches the heart. And we can find God in our own instinct to turn inward and plumb our inner depths. Right now, we are our own spiritual cardiologists, looking deeply, fearlessly, lovingly into the recesses of our hearts and our very beings, setting down our usual defenses, getting as real as we can about ourselves and with God. And if we can search within with real curiosity, with real compassion, without the need to be right, we can find within these levavot, within these hearts of ours, a never-ending flow of chesed, of love. May that love guide our words and our actions in this new year. Top of page 7. Sefer Chaim Bracha V'Shalom. Rather than praying that we be written in the book of life, we might understand these words as setting our kavanah, our intention, our direction for this new year, to remember and to wake up each day with a commitment to inscribe ourselves in that holy book by living each moment in such a way that we choose an affirmed life, that we choose blessing, that we choose love, that we choose justice, that we choose goodness, that we choose well-being, that we choose shalom for us, for our Jewish siblings, wherever they may be, for the whole world which is born anew on this day. May this be our will. May this be God's will. B'Sefer Chaim, middle page 7.
בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה נזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה נזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Continuing with the words, a prayer that come from our own hearts. Be seated when you're finished.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום
עלינו
ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. היי לה 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 לה
It has been a long time since we have sung that song together. That used to be how we ended every Friday night mindfulness, Kabbalat Shabbat. And we haven't done those in a long time. So it's really sweet to be singing that particular melody with all of you. We are going to move into the Torah service. So I think we're going to move our chairs to the side. And I'd like to invite all of anyone who is a new BJ member this year. Is there anyone here who just joined BJ this year? If you would like to, everyone who's a new member this year, to come forward to open the ark. Okay, so you want to come around on this side. I think it might be a little easier. We can have there's not a ton of room up here, so why don't we have one person representing? And so come on up. And all of our new to VJ members, we want to welcome you to this community. And if you are watching on the live stream and you are new member to VJ this year, then you can stand up as well and be part of this community of wonderful people who are here to help lead us into our Torah service. Just go ahead and open the doors. top of page 8.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, Verav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzeh Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon Va'fesha V'chata V'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'chanun, Erech Apayim, V'rav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzeh Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon Va'fesha V'chata V'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'chanun, Erech Apayim, Rav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzeh Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon Va'fesha V'chata V'nakeh.
Please be seated.
Shanah Tovah once again. The Torah reading for the second day of Rosh Hashanah, for me at least, is similar to the first day Torah reading in that it begs the question, why are we reading this on Rosh Hashanah? So there are many ways to read this story of the binding of Isaac, the sacrifice of Isaac, as it's sometimes referred to, and ways into the story and ways to try to understand this story, this very, very challenging story, let's think about how we can relate a little bit to what is happening here and how it relates to the themes of the day and how we can use this moment of connecting to Torah and connecting to our tradition to bolster our own spiritual work of this season. So we're going to read 3 aliyot this year. We're bringing in more of the Torah service than we have in the past, which gives us an opportunity to connect more with the full story. And for each aliyah, I will share a few thoughts and then invite anyone who resonates with the themes of that aliyah to come forward or either stand in your seat or come up to the Torah to take part in this aliyah. So get ready. The first aliyah, which we will read, and you should have a sheet. A sheet that has the Torah reading on it. The first aliyah that we will read, there's a beautiful interpretation of what this story is, what this narrative is by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. It is described here in the Torah as a test. God is testing Avraham, and that is so often how it is understood. And Rabbi Sacks suggests that it's not a test in terms of will Avraham actually sacrifice his child? Because again, what even is that as a test? But this is a moment in Avraham's life where he is being asked, he's being tested to live with an enormous amount of uncertainty. The first time we saw the words that will repeat here, Lech Lecha, Avraham was told at the beginning of Parshat Lech Lecha, go to this country, leave your home, and I will make you a great nation. And that is the first time of 4 times that he is promised. He is promised in direct encounters with God that he will be the father of a great nation, that he will have many children, that his offspring will be as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. And now he is told again, Lech Lecha, and kill your only son. Rabbi Sacks says this is the test. Not would Avraham kill his son, because ultimately that is not what God wanted. But the test was, could he live in that uncertainty of having been promised something and wanting that thing so deeply, so badly, and then having the possibility of that not happening. And this was a test of not knowing. How do we live in the moments of not knowing? Not necessarily the moments of being asked to do the hardest thing or the moments of disappointment, but think for a minute about how many moments of not knowing you have experienced this year, and especially in recent years. This is a very different sort of scenario, but I was thinking about the trip that my family took to Israel this year for Pesach, for Passover. And we were so excited because we hadn't been in so many years before COVID, and my father lives in Jerusalem, and I hadn't seen him, and we wanted to see him, and we were so excited. And yet, hanging over that excitement and anticipation for about 3 weeks leading up to our flight was the possibility that it would get canceled because one of us would get COVID. And living, it's a small thing, but how can I live with that uncertainty? Do I fall into the habits of denying it? I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to be resentful. I'm going to get anxious about it. Or can I live and hold it with a certain amount of equanimity to say, I don't know. It might not turn out the way I want it to turn out. And I'm going to hold that. So I want to invite up for this first aliyah anyone who feels that they would like to have more strength and spiritual support to hold the uncertainties that have arisen for you, that will inevitably arise for you this year. And again, you're welcome to come up to the bima or to stay in your seat. This is actually far fewer people than I imagined would come up for this aliyah. But I'm glad so many of you are so secure. But even if you did not come up for this aliyah in particular, as Leah reads this aliyah, think about your own, the things you have been called to do, your own lech lecha, that is creating for you or has created for you that uncertainty. How do you want to be with it? How do you want to live with it? What? Yeah. Baruch Adonai Avarach Leolam Va'ed. Amen.
Amen. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'ela v'ha Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et pincha et yichidcha asher ahavta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha el eretz hamoria v'alehu sham le'olah al achad harim asher omar elacha vayashkem Avraham baboker vayachavosh et chamaro vayikach et shnei na'arav ito ve'et Yitzchak beno vayivaka atzei olah vayakom vayelach el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim.
Marc, I was thinking about what you said earlier. when you read the passage from Danny Matt about how do we come to really understand the unity of all of us, the oneness of everything. And the second aliyah here uses a word to describe Abraham's actions that gets interpreted by the Hasidic teacher, the 20th century Hasidic teacher, Netivot Shalom, as an expression of his understanding of unity, of the oneness of everything. The passage tells us that when they get to the place, to the mountain, Abraham says to his servants, you stay here with the donkey. Va'ani v'hana'ar nelcha ad ko, I and the young boy, we will go to there. V'nishtachaveh v'nashuva elechem. We will worship, or we will bow, and then we will return to you. So that is in and of itself a little surprising that Abraham, who has been told that he's going to sacrifice his son, says, we will return to you. There's a confidence there, or an understanding that that's not really necessarily what's going to happen. And the Netivot Shalom suggests that it's because of that word, v'nishtachaveh. The Midrash in Breshit Rabbah teaches that this word is seen in the Torah just before moments of redemption, that this is a unique type of prayer, a unique type of worship that leads to redemption or brings about a moment of redemption. This being one of them, we see it at the redemption at the sea. And the Netivot Shalom asks, why would that be the case? What is it about this type of worship, this type of prayer? And he says, this is the type of prayer where we are engaging in a process of hitbatlut, which is the reflexive Hebrew form of the word bitul, to erase or to annihilate or to annul. But this is not, in the Hasidic language, the idea of self-effacement, but rather it's the bitul hayesh, the erasing of the false belief that there is something called me and something called you, and we are separate and different and distant from each other. And that, in fact, my being, my existence, my yesh, is completely connected to yours. There isn't even mine and yours. That there is unity among all living beings, among all beings. And it is a false understanding to think of ourselves as separate from others. And so why would this idea or this type of prayer that opens one up to the experience of hitbatlut, the recognition of the unity of all, why would this be the type of prayer that then leads to a moment of redemption? Think about the last time you had a fight with someone, relative, friend, partner. Where did the anger come from? Where did the conflict come from? It is so likely that it came from a place of wanting something that is mine, and the other person wanted things to go the way that they wanted. And seeing ourselves as different and distant. There's mine and there's yours. There's separation between us. Opens the possibility and the space for conflict, for anger, for hurt. But if I can experience a moment where my spouse says something that upsets me, and instead of saying, well, that's what he wants and this is what I want, I can say, he's a person too. And why might he be saying this? If I were in this place, maybe I would be feeling the way he's feeling. He's human like I am human. He has desires like I have desires. In fact, we are connected. We are one. So if I take a breath in that moment and allow for the hitbatlut, the releasing of the attachment to what the self wants, I can avoid the conflict and maybe have a moment of redemption. So far, I've only been able to do this one time. But I'm working on it. So I want to invite up for this aliyah anyone who is working on this, who wants to work on this more. The hitbatlut, and then the connection that can come. Everyone can come. Everyone can come.
ונשתחווה ונשובה אליכם. ויקח אברהם את עצי העולה, וישם על יצחק בנו, ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, והלכו שניהם יחדיו. ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו, ויאמר אבי, ויאמר הנני בני, ויאמר הנה האש והעצים, ויעשה לעולה. ויאמר אברהם אלוהים יראה לו עשה לעולה בני, והלכו שניהם יחדיו.
So the third aliyah is the height of the drama. And if you look at most artistic representations of this biblical scene, and there are many, this is the scene. This is it. You have Abraham with the knife in his hand, Yitzchak on the altar, the angel stepping in, grabbing Avraham's hand or about to grab Avraham's hand. This is the scene. Why is it this scene? It's a dramatic moment, but the whole story's dramatic. There could be many other moments that artists could have chosen to paint, to represent this narrative. Why is it this moment? I'd like to suggest that this is the moment that has become the image of the Akedah, because this is the moment we all want in our lives. This is the moment we all have those experiences where we are metaphorically lifting a knife, where we are about to say something or do something to inflict harm on ourselves or on another person. Again, out of habit, out of not being mindful in our speech, out of that primitive brain, reptilian brain that we get into when we are triggered. And the work of mindfulness is cultivating that angel to be able to step in and hold us back from inflicting that harm with that knife. We all want that. Nobody walks around in the world wanting to hurt others. We're hurt because we've been hurt. We're hurt because we're on autopilot. We hurt for all sorts of reasons, but really we want that angel there, calling out our name and holding us back from hurting. And that is the power of this image. That is the possibility that this aliyah, this passage extends to us, that we can cultivate that angel. It's work. It's not necessarily just going to happen, but it's there. How do we cultivate that? That's part of our mindfulness practice, is bringing our presence to each moment, to live in greater radical amazement, as Marc was saying earlier, and to love and to have open hearts, and also to be able to be more attentive to this moment when our knife is raised. So I want to invite for this aliyah anyone who is cultivating that angel and wants a little extra support this year in strengthening that angel's ability to call out, to grab your hand, to be there, to redirect you to something beautiful and purposeful and not something harmful. Oh, yes.
This morning I'm going to do a contemplative, dramatic, contemplative chanting of the Akedah, the binding. I will intentionally be pausing in between the many different movements that occur in this reading. Even within each sentence, there are many different events that take place. And as our beloved teachers and meditation rabbis say to us, you are invited to notice and to take a few breaths with me as I pause throughout. And just notice what you're hearing in the different sounds that I make and what you're seeing on the page or in your mind's eye, and how that makes you feel, and how or if slowing down in this fashion changes your experience. במקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים. ויבן שם אברהם את המזבח ויערוך את העצים. ויעקב את יצחק בנו. וישם אותו על המזבח ממעל לעצים. וישלח אברהם את ידו ויקח את המאכלת לשחוט את בנו. ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים ויאמר אברהם, אברהם. ויאמר הנני. ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער ואל תעש לו מאומה, כי אתה ידעתי כי ירא אלוהים אתה ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך ממני. וישא אברהם את עיניו וירא והנה איל אחר נאחז בזבח בקרניו. וילך אברהם ויקח את האיל ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו. ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יראה אשר יאמר היום בהר אדוני יראה. Asher kocheh.
Thank you, Lori, for that. Let's just take a moment to resettle. Find your seat. Again, your presence in your seat. Noticing with acceptance and not with judgment whatever has arisen, whatever has come up in this time of Kriyat Torah, Torah reading. We take a few minutes now to return or to turn our attention outward to all those who are in need of healing. Whether that is healing of the body, of the mind, of the spirit, specific people you know, people you don't know. Rabbi Nancy Flam writes of her experience with chaplaincy that the chaplain doesn't have, or even the doctor doesn't have, the ability to heal, but can help create the conditions in which healing might happen. That we know that the mind-body connection is very deep, is very real. And so our healing prayers are an opportunity for us to extend those well wishes for the qualities that can help allow for healing. So we'll take a minute in a loving kindness meditation. I ask you to bring to mind someone who is in need of healing. Again, it can be a specific person you know, or an anonymous person you read about in the news or passed on the street. Bring an image to mind, the image of that person's face, or an image that allows you to hold their presence in your mind. And thinking these phrases. May you feel joy. May you feel love. May you feel ease. May you feel at peace. May you feel joy. May you feel love. May you feel ease. May you feel at peace. May you feel joy. May you feel love. May you feel ease. May you feel at peace. El narefana la, el narefana la, el narefana la, el narefana la. Turning to the shofar service, allowing ourselves to be blasted open a little bit more, a little bit more. So we have the great privilege and honor of learning from and hearing from John Silver.
Amazing and gratitude. I'll move this before I sound the shofar. Don't worry. It won't be that close. From the beginning of the month of Elul until Shmini Atzeret, we recite Psalm 27, which is actually found in your in the very back of the Machzor. And within that psalm is the song Achat Sha'alti, which I'm sure many of you know. Yai dai da dai dai da dai dai da dai dai, yai dai 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 da da dai dai dai. Maybe we'll sing it later. So interesting, Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg has a wonderful interpretive translation that's also found in your Machzor, but specifically that verse. I seek only one thing alone, to connect to this moment, nowhere else, only this, nothing less, my palace in time. So I invite you to use that prayer as our kavanah for hearing the sound of the shofar today. To connect to this moment, nowhere else, only this, nothing less. So in preparation for hearing the sound and being aware of connecting to this moment, I invite you to take your seat, Feet on the floor if you're comfortable. Back straight. Hands in your lap any way that's comfortable. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Notice the in-breath and the out-breath. And if you're wearing a mask, you may notice the in-breath and the out-breath feels different than it is when you're not wearing a mask. But just notice the in-breath and the out-breath. And I invite you to turn to your attention to sensations in your body. Actually, first the abdomen, because that's where a lot of our emotional feelings are kept. Any sensations that you notice in your abdomen. And relax your chest, your neck, your face, your eyes, your tongue. Turn your attention to any sounds. It may be sounds of your own breath, sounds of other people breathing in the room, or sounds outside the room, sounds of my voice. Turn your attention to any thoughts you may be having now. Whether it's anticipation, reviewing things that have happened, anxiety, joy, gratitude. And I invite you, if you're comfortable, you can remain with your eyes closed through this teaching. So I'm asking whether we can be still enough during the sound of the shofar to hear that still small voice within us. Can we allow ourselves to have the sound resonate through our body and our soul and be aware of sensations, emotions, and thoughts that arise? The sounds of the shofar may bring on sensations of being startled, fear, awe, sadness, loss, hope, opportunity. There's one teaching that with the sound of the shofar, the divine moves from the seat of judgment to the seat of compassion. So note your posture now. And adjust to feel as if you're moving from that seat of judgment, which may be more rigid or upright, to a softer seat of compassion. And can we observe our thoughts and sensations without trying to change them, and without judgment, without a story, but with compassion? And I invite you to notice whether your response differs for each sound. The tekiah, that's the strong, piercing sound that can remove the calluses around my heart. And as Rambam teaches, lets us wake up, take notice, and search. The shvarim and truah, which in my experience now is the heart and soul of the shofar sounds. Those are the sounds of sobbing and brokenness. In the Sephardic tradition, the sounding of the shofar is associated with the Akedah that we just read. And there's a piyut sung before the shofar that tells the story of Isaac being bound and about to be sacrificed, talking to Abraham about how Abraham will tell his mother that the son she gave birth to at 90 years of age has gone to the fire and been designated for the knife. Just imagine the sobbing and brokenness that goes with that. And is Abraham's waking up to Isaac, please, and the brokenness of Sarah, is that what allowed him to hear the voice to not sacrifice his son? Does that story of sobbing and brokenness or anger and resentment that we have that keeps going on and on and on, and we repeat to ourselves, if only, if only, as if it will never end? Is it possible to waking up to that moment enables us to be aware of the brokenness and take action? God is close to the brokenhearted. So each line of the shofar calls, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, tells me, wake up, be aware of the brokenness, and what am I called to do? And then we conclude with the Tekiah Gedolah, the sound of hope and strength. I know when I sound this, my intention is that it will last forever. With all my strength and breath, and I promise I'm using all my strength and my breath that I have, I want it to last, but I know it will end, and as with everything else in life, not necessarily when or how I want it to end. And while I want it to be strong and long, it can be wavering and short. It is what it is. At a point, you have no control. And you may see and hear my struggle to keep it longer, to not stop, to delay the inevitable, but it ends and hopefully will be followed by a new breath. So I invite you to be with me for each sound of the shofar. The start, the stop, the silence in between. Be aware of what the shofar is telling you, and when your thoughts go to judgment or comparison, then return to the sound of the shofar, to teshuvah with compassion. Allow yourself to connect to this moment, nowhere else, only this, and nothing less. And for the sounding of the shofar, you may stay seated with your eyes closed, or if you're more comfortable, you can stand, whichever you feel is more appropriate for you at this time.
Yasher Koach on the beautiful meditation and amazing Tkiyata Shofar. We say traditionally at this time in the service, as part of the Shofar service, Hayom Harat Olam. We call to mind the idea that today is the day that the world was birthed, or another way to translate it is that the world is pregnant with possibility. And we hear in John's amazing Tkiyot the possibility for something new to be born. Thank you. Seder Hachnasat Torah, we're going to return the Torah.
Mustafa, I want to invite us to, as Shuli invited us earlier, to resettle and begin again, as if we just arrived. Let's do it again. What a gift it is. Incredible gift to be able to really be in the day of Rosh Hashanah. Second day of the year. We'll still be signing our checks 5782 for a few weeks. It's all new. It's exciting. It's moving. A blessing to be in the day. And it's an awesome day. So let's just sit for a few minutes as our additional offering before we turn to Unatana Tokef. Just to have that experience of emerging into newness. The not knowing that Shuli spoke of, but with the expectancy. Not the anxiety of this might not happen, that might not happen, but anything could happen. Anything wonderful could happen. Think of all the beautiful moments. Yesterday, Rolly and I think Felicia spoke about Passow Tovah, good news. Think of all the good news that's going to come. The cures that'll be found, the vaccines which will be developed, celebrations to come. Before we move into Unatana Tokef Kedushat Hayom, declare the holiness of this day. Kihu no Rava Ayom, it's awesome, exalted. Uvotinase Malchutecha, this day we experience presence, divine presence, most acutely. How do we do that? Vayikon bechesed ki yisecha, v'teshev alav be'emet. God is seated, as it were, on the throne of chesed and emet. So we sit for a few minutes in preparation for Unatana Tokef, letting ourselves come and arrive into the awesomeness, the holiness of this day. And we sit in a place of judgment, of deen. Hine Yom Hadin. Behold, this is the day of deen, where we see ourselves and are seen most clearly, without defenses, without pretenses, as we are. And we sit in that place of judgment, balanced within two qualities, chesed ve'emet. The quality of emet, truth, the quality of chesed, compassion, love. Right now, we seek to see ourselves truthfully, really, how we are, in all our faults, in all our brokenness and woundedness, and with all our unwholesome habits, warts and all. The blessing of seeing ourselves clearly, honestly, but with chesed, with a lot of compassion. Sit and see if you can come into the truth of you, who you are at this moment. What is it in your life that needs attending to? What is inviting your attention that maybe you would like to look away from? What is in need of repair that you'd rather defer or delay? Don't force an answer, just let yourself be here and sit with your breath and let the answer come up on its own or not. And whatever comes up, we remember that when the shofar sounds, God shifts from the kisei, the throne of Din, of judgment, to the kisei of rachamim, of compassion. And as John has sounded that shofar, the movement has begun towards compassion. We hold our brokenness, we hold all of the areas in our life which could stand some improvement or change with compassion. Because tshuva can not only come from your fear, but from ahava, from love. We pray that our turning, our change, our transformation, even if it's so incremental that we might tend to dismiss it, comes from a place of love, compassion, Rosh Hashanah ikatevu. Today it is written, and there is a sit for a few minutes with our truth in compassion. You can stay in this place, or on page 11, you can rise for the chanting of the first part of Unatana Tokav, page 11.
Unatan tokev kedushat hayom ki hu nora ve'ayom ki hu nora ve'ayom uvot inasei malchut ha'avika chesed yisrael ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות ומאליו יקרא וחוטא מיד כל אדם בו ובשופר גדול ייתקע וכל דממה דקה יישמע ומלאכים יחפזון וחיל ורעדה יוחזון ויאמרו הנה יום הדין הנה יום הדין לפקוד על צבא מרום בדין לפקוד על צבא מרום בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין וכל באי עולם יעברון לפניך כבני מרום כבקרת רועדרו מה ברצונו תחת שבטו כבקרת רועדרו מה ברצונו תחת שבטו כן תבהיר ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי ותחתוך קצבה לכל בריאה ותכתוב את גזר דינם בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יכתבון בראש השנה יכתבון וביום צום כיפור יכתבון.
God, grant us serenity to accept what we cannot control, what we cannot know. Today invites us to come into awareness of the fragility of our lives, the gift that we're given each moment we're alive. The truth of this moment is that we don't know what the year will bring. We don't know. We can't know what is written for us this year. As we chant these words of who will live and who will die in the year ahead, we recognize and practice acceptance of the reality that we are mortal, that we are profoundly vulnerable, that we do not and cannot control this universe. We can only control what we can by choosing teshuvah, by choosing to try again and again to be our better selves, by choosing prayer, by seeking the help we need to do what we can, and by choosing tzedakah, by pursuing each moment what is right and just in our large and small daily actions.
בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. כמה יעברון וכמה יבראון, מי יחיה ומי ימות, מי וקיצו ומי לא בקיצו. בראש השנה יכתבון, ויום צום כיפור יחתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, ויום צום כיפור יחתמון. מי ומים ומי ואש, מי וחרב ומי וחיה, מי ורש ומי וצמא, מי ורש ומי ומגפה. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. מי וחניקה ומי וסקילה, מי ינוח ומי ינוע, מי ישקט ומי יטורף, מי ישלב ומי יתייסר, מי יעני ומי ישיר, מי יושפל ומי ירום. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון. בראש השנה יכתבון, וביום צום כיפור יחתמון.
Humankind is founded on dust. Of dust we're made, to dust we return. As long as we live, we strive for our bread. Like vessels of clay we break. Like grass we wither, like flowers we fade, like shadows we pass. Like clouds we become empty. This is our truth. We can find as we sit and become aware of our breath, the fact that each breath arises, passes, and is gone. This moment is what there is. And within that awareness, we learn that we also are connected to something else, something eternal, something that does not fade, something that does not break, something that never leaves us. We discover within ourselves the godly aspect of creation that holds within it all compassion, the source of our lives. And this is what we return to each moment and each breath. Your name, God, is the perfect expression of you, and you, in turn, have embodied your name in us, and our name you have called in your name.
Ki kashimcha kein tehilatecha kasheli chosanoch lo tachpotz emet ke hayotzran yodam אדם יסודו מעפר, וסופו לעפר, בנפשו יביא לחמו, משול כחרס הנשבר, הנשבר, כחציר יבש, וכציץ נובר, כצל עובר, וכענן קלה, וכרוח נושבת, וכאבק פורח, וכחלום יעוף, ואתה הוא מלך אל חי וקיים.
We're seated. Three brief meditations on the key themes of Musaf for Rosh Hashanah: Malchuyot, sovereignty; Zichronot, memory; Shofarot, revelation and redemption. Malchuyot invites us to experience ourselves as something, as part of something infinitely larger than ourselves. As my friend and colleague Rabbi Tovah Spitzer describes Malchuyot, whatever is sovereign in this universe, it's much bigger than us. But it contains us and we can rest in it. So I want to invite us to practice Malchuyot for a moment by bringing awareness again to the process of breathing and by recognizing that we are breathed, that we do not make ourselves breathe. We do not control our breath. It comes and goes regardless of our will. We do not take a breath. We receive a breath. We do not exhale a breath. We release a breath. We do not breathe. We are breathed. So invite yourself, if you'd like to close your eyes for a moment, and again, where we began, to recall the breath. And rest in the flow of the breath. Just as if we were floating on the surface of water that is upholding our body. Without any effort on our part, simply by relaxing as best we can our bodies and our effort. Trusting, letting ourselves be sustained, part of that oneness that lies beyond our imagination, the place of mystery, the place of not knowing, letting ourselves rest in the place of not knowing and allowing ourselves to be breathed into life again and again. The top of page 14 together. What does it mean to proclaim your sovereignty when we don't understand kings? Before the Big Bang, there was you. In the old year, we allowed habits to rule us. Help us throw off that yoke so that our best selves may serve you. Help us surrender. The cosmos is not under our control. Help us fall to our knees and find home in your embrace. Let your power increase in the world. Help us be unashamed of yearning. Strengthen our awe and our love so our prayers will soar.
Bringing forward another teaching and meditation from Rabbi Tovah Spitzer. We turn to Zichronot on page 15. And I want to invite you, again, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and settle into your chair. As within the vastness of the cosmos, Zichronot invites us to imagine ourselves as being noticed, remembered, known. And we speak here to the creative power of the universe as we say, Ata zocher ma'aseh olam ufoked kol yitzurei kedem. You remember all that you have made within your world. You consider every creature fashioned since the beginning. All of your many works, the vast infinity of beings. Each has its place within your memory and thought. And so on Rosh Hashanah, we are remembered. Just as Noah, threatened by the floodwaters, was remembered. Just as Sarah, aching to have a child of her own, was remembered. Just as the people of Israel crying out from bondage were remembered, so too are we remembered. Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg teaches that we are part of God's memory because nothing precious is ever lost in the universe, and love is more precious than anything. So Zichronot invites us to imagine ourselves held by a sense of being fully known and loved, embraced by the source of all. I'll offer some phrases, some words of blessing, and invite you to imagine that the universe is saying them to you. Think of them as well wishes coming directly your way from the source of all compassion. So we'll take a few deep breaths and focus on the area around our heart. May you be blessed with safety and protection. May you be blessed with a sense of well-being and ease. May you be blessed with peace. May you be blessed with safety and protection. May you be blessed with a sense of well-being and ease. May you be blessed with peace. May you be blessed with peace. כי זוכר כל הנשכחות, אתה הוא מעולם ואין שכחה. לפני כיסך ועודך, בעקדת יצחק לזרעו היום ברחמים תזכור. ברוך אתה אדוני זוכר הברית. Blessed are you, Adonai, who remembers the covenant.
shofarot section of Musaf switches, flips the experience of listening to the shofar. When we stood or sat and listened, when John blew earlier, we said, or John said the bracha, and we said, Amen, lishmoa kol shofar, that we are made holy. Holiness is instilled within us in the commandment to listen to the voice of the shofar. And here in shofarot, as you see on the middle of page 16, we are asking God to listen to the voice of the shofar, the voice of our shofar. God should listen with compassion. And so I want to take the reverse of the breathing exercise that Marc led us in before, and in our own work of imitatio Dei, of emulating God and emulating compassion, to consider a person or a place in the world where you know compassion is needed, where you know that there is pain and suffering. And breathe in that pain. Breathe out compassion. Breathing in, you breathe in another's hurt. Breathing out compassion. Breathing in the suffering. Breathing out compassion. Or we do this ourselves, the more of a right we have for God to do this for us, to ask that of the divine. Ki ata shomea kol shofar uma'azin tru'a ve'en domelach. Baruch ata Adonai shomea kol teruat amo Yisrael berachamim. Listen to the sounds of our shofar with compassion. Close our Musaf service with Kaddish. I invite all those who are in mourning or marking a yortzeit, or simply want to take this moment to remember someone. In this cycle, another year. We remember the lives that were lost of those dear to us and those we do not know. But we do know that their loss caused someone sadness. we hold that fragment of the human experience. Knowing that our own moments of loss are felt by others, and others can be felt by us. Yitzkadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei zechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam umei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitzromam v'yitnaseh. Vitadar, vitale, vitalal, shemei de kudsha, berichu. Le'ela, minkol, birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, da'amiran, be'alma, v'imru, amen. Yehe shelama rabba, min shemaya v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom, bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen.
Amen. Stay standing or we rise as we're able in body or in spirit for Avinu Malkeinu on the bottom of page 17, which, if we can degender it, is really a plea for us and for all beings to know the blessing of pure and unconditional love, of grace, of connection that is not dependent on merit or actions. Ki ein banu ma'asim, is if we had no merits. Love us anyway. Be with us. Answer us anyway. Give us grace. Give us chesed. Give us tzedakah. Help us live lives that are reflected by all those qualities. And may all beings everywhere know that love. Unconditional parental love. Bottom of page 17.
I want to invite, I know we have a few members here from out of town. Marvin's here from Kansas. Ivan's here from Texas. I want to invite anyone who's here from out of town, our non-local members, to come up and open the Ark for Avinu Malkeinu. If there's anyone else, please come join.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu, Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki
may be seated. I was taught by a wonderful professor, teacher in rabbinical school that the announcements should be an extension of the service. So I invite everybody to just breathe in the gratitude that you have been feeling and cultivating, and say a big thank you to all those who made today possible, who gave of themselves. Someone with a big smile greeted you at the door when you came in. It was either Suzanne Schechter or Mandy Braun, Lester Schwab, Ann Cohn, Susan Miller, who served as our ushers and greeters today, and Susan Sanders. And of course, our musicians, Oded Lev Ari, and Jova Jorbin, I hope I pronounced that okay, and Danny Markham, who brought such your own presence and your own gifts to make this an incredible morning. I want to also say thank you to Liard Booker, who's over in the sound area, and I don't know the other person who's been working the AV, but we want to say thank you. Well, please tell us your name. Dwayne. Thank you to Dwayne and Liard for making the sound possible. And they are not here right now, but a big thank you to Lisa and to John, who from our operations team, who were managing this space and making sure that everything was set up when you got here, and that everything was going smoothly from the operations front. I don't have any. Are there other announcements? Tashlich is over, so if you didn't do it, you can still do it until Hoshana Rabbah, but the BJ Tashlich happened yesterday. And in the spirit of what we sang together in Unatana Tokef, Tshuva, Tfilah, and Staka, Ma'avirin et Roa Hagzera, we invite you to open yourselves in generosity, both the generosity of heart that is required in the process of Tshuva and the process of prayer, but also the generosity of Tzedakah. And please remember that if you are coming in person to Kol Nidre next week, you can bring a check for the West Side Campaign Against Hunger. You can also make a donation to them online, either before or after Yom Kippur. Please make that part of your Yom Kippur practice this year, as the need has continued to rise in New York, as in many other places. And we've been partnering with West Side Campaign Against Hunger for many, many years, and this is a big contribution that our community continues to make for them and their amazing work. So I want to say also thank you to all of you for being here, for being present, for doing this work together in community. And we will close with, as John said, we will sing Achat Sha'alti together, and we will close with that, this expression of yearning, of desire to just be in God's presence. And here we are. We got to be there for a little bit. How wonderful.
Achat sha'alti me'etz Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti me'etz Adonai ota avakesh. Shifti leveit Adonai kol yemei chayai, lachazot benoam benoam Adonai ulevaker beheichalo, lachazot benoam benoam Adonai ulevaker beheichalo. ושבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר
Shanah Tovah.
Shanah Tovah.
Tovah.